Hello and welcome to Tank and AFV News. My name's Tom and today we have yet another book review. Today we are looking at the Forward Edge of Battle, a history of the Pakistan Armored Corps, 1938 to 2016, Volume 1, by Major General Syed Ali Hamid. I just got this one yesterday and spent the morning reading through it, and it is quite interesting. I have to say, this is not a topic I really know much about because I don't think a ton has been written in English on the Pakistani Armored Corps or battles. There's been a couple different books out there I know of, in particular the M48 Patton versus Centurion duel book by Higgins. But the armored warfare, the topic of armored warfare in the subcontinent has not been one that's gotten a lot of attention, which is unfortunate because if you look at the history of armored warfare since World War II, as far as major tank-on-tank battles and forces that have fought those, I mean, obviously there's the Middle East with Israel and Syria and Egypt and whatnot, and then some of the other encounters are between Pakistan and India. So certainly those Indo-Pakistani wars did not get as much attention as the Arab-Israeli wars. They weren't quite as big, but still, these are fairly major powers and equipped with relatively modern armored forces. So this book's certainly a welcome addition to what's out there in English on the topic, because again, not much has been written on it so far. The book itself, so just as far as the presentation, so it's about sort of standard size, as you can see. Page count is 96 pages, so decent. And of course, this is only volume 1, so it is it's not complete. It doesn't tell the entire story from 38 to 2016. Volume 2 is being released next month. Hopefully, I'll get my hands on that as well and have the full set. So, not sure why they decided to do 2 volumes instead of just one larger volume. I assume just for cost purposes to keep the price down a little bit. It has 100 black and white photos, illustrations, 20 color profiles, 12 color illustrations, as well as a couple maps and tables. It is, sort of a standard, just mixed of photos and text. I would say at least more than half of the real estate, so to speak, is devoted to text, but quite a few pictures. So, sort of see, here's a. I don't think I need to do the overhead shot, but you can get an idea of sort of what we're talking about here. It's a pretty standard illustrated book. And the author, as I said, he's a major general. It says that he had over a 50-year career with the Pakistani Armored Corps. So obviously he is writing from a position of knowledge. Obviously he has a vested interest in presenting his topic in a good light. But so reading this, I don't have a lot of other information to compare it to. So I don't know how biased he is toward his topic. I mean, that's always a danger when people are writing about something they were involved with themselves. But the writing does come off as it's done in a professional, historical manner. It seems fairly objective, and he's providing bibliography, footnotes, all those sort of the way you'd expect out of a serious work. So, it comes off as a well-written thing, and the writing style is quite clear and easy to read. I will say that about it. As far as what it covers, well, obviously it starts off with 1938. The reason he starts with 1938 is that's when the Indian cavalry converted from horses to started to mechanize. And, of course, when you're dealing with this topic, starting in 1938, Pakistan is not a separate country at that point. So it's really, the first part of the book is the history of the Indian mechanized forces. And so he spends quite a bit of time describing their activities throughout World War II and how they were created and some of the challenges and difficulties they faced. Particularly when it comes to things like equipment, training, organization, all those things. They did not get as much priority as some of the other Commonwealth nations in terms of equipment and whatnot. So certainly some challenges there. Then he moves into the period after World War II where the partition does not go into great detail about the fighting that would have occurred in that point. Interestingly, like there's not a lot of detail either on the Indo-Pakistani Wars of 65 or 71. I suspect that's coming in volume 2. Like I said, it is literally history of these particular units. So it really sort of gets into the weeds on quite a bit of that stuff. But that's what it purports to be. As far as the relationship with the United States in the post-war period, there is a chapter on that and sort of the Lend-Lease assistance that the U.S. Gave the Pakistani Armoured Corps, because the majority of their vehicles were American in the post-war period. And then it also goes into, there's a whole section on equipment, and it's interesting his observations about some of the U.S. equipment that they were given. It's always interesting to see observations coming from a third party, who's using it in their own situation. One thing I thought was interesting is he devotes quite a bit of time to discussing the different radio sets that were included in these different vehicles, generally more than you generally find in other write-ups or sources. So. And that makes sense, because from a commander standpoint, communications are pretty darn important, and radios that work are important. So I thought that was sort of an interesting thing, because I don't think I've ever encountered a book where in an equipment discussion they focus quite as much. I mean, he spends as much time talking about the radios as he does the guns on these tanks. So that's just what it is. And other than that, that is really sort of the book in a nutshell. Like I say, it's a very welcome addition in terms of, like I said, as my own collection. I didn't really have much on India or Pakistan, their armored forces. So it's nice to see somebody's finally published this. It'll be nice to get volume 2, so I have sort of the complete picture. But I would give this one a recommendation. It is published by Helium and Company. It retails for $29.95, and like I said, 100 pages almost. The price seems pretty in line with what you're getting here. I'm sure probably on Amazon you can probably find it for a little less than that. So this one was came out just last week, October 18th. And volume 2 is scheduled for next month. So probably makes sense just to order them both together, because once you're reading this one, you're going to want to read the other one as well. So again, thank you to the fine folks at Casemate for providing this copy. This one gets a thumbs up, definitely, if you sort of are like me, trying to amass a library that's comprehensive, not just covering U.S. armor or whatever, but you're interested in armor around the world. This will be a welcome addition to your library. All right, thank you much, and catch you on the next one.